The broken jaw. I am myself. The other is simply something else. I am what I am. That is all. Swami Prajnanpat. I believe in divine intervention. Many of my friends say it doesn't work, but I'll swear by it every time. 4 or 5 winters ago, I was scheduled to go to San Miguel, Mexico, to spend the winter months and meet a friend of mine, Yalya Herald, who rented a lovely little apartment there with a wonderful view from her bedroom and living room windows, looking out on the sunrise and sunset each morning and evening. I rented an apartment too in the same complex, Via Martha, but my apartment looked out, unfortunately, onto the parking lot. That winter, when I was scheduled to go to Mexico, I broke my jaw. I was sick one evening and had fever and chills. I got up to go to the bathroom to pee, and on my way into the kitchen to take some homeopathic medicine, I fainted and fell. The kitchen floor is hard. I woke up immediately and felt something coming from my mouth. I went into the bathroom to look into the mirror and wound up holding my flopping jaw in my hand with blood gushing out of my mouth into my palm and onto my fingers. I didn't call 911 as my insurance policy was for New York, and I was now living in Massachusetts. In 10 months, I was due to go on Medicare, and so I thought I could hold it out on my New York policy without any serious incidents. How wrong I was. I looked around for my winter hat, but I couldn't find it. It was cold outside, January, and it was 20 degrees. I didn't want to catch a cold. Imagine that. So I went around my small apartment for 3 minutes, looking until I found it. I put on my winter coat, went outside, got into my car, and drove to BMC, Berkshire Medical Center. I parked my car in the garage and went into the emergency room, all very calmly. Walked up to the main desk and said, "I think I've got a problem." The attendant, in a white jacket and pants, looked at me and said, "I guess you have." They called an oral surgeon, and he set my jaw. I was wired up for 6 weeks, and that ended my trip to Mexico. Instead, once the wires were off, I went to California in mid-February to visit my son Jerome. On the trip to California, as I was sitting in the plane, I thought to myself, God, if you didn't want me to go to Mexico, why didn't you just tell me? You didn't have to break my jaw. But knowing myself, I probably wouldn't have listened to God if he had politely said to me, "Dickie, I don't want you to go to Mexico this winter." And so he broke my jaw in order to make sure. Yes, I knew God didn't want me to go to Mexico that winter, but I didn't know why. I spent several weeks in California with my son and had a relaxing time. When I got home and settled again, it was April 1st. I knew my friend Yalya would be home by now from San Miguel, so I called her number in Northampton. She answered the phone, and I said immediately, "Yalya, how are you? How was Mexico?" There was a pause. "I'm not too well, Dick," Yalya said. "What's the matter?" I asked. "I got typhoid, amoebas, and high blood pressure, and I was on all kinds of medications, antibiotics, and high blood pressure medication. The medications did a number on me. A group of us got typhoid, and I was one of them. It knocked my system all out of whack, and I haven't recovered yet from anything. Oh, Yalya, I'm sorry to hear that, I said. We talked a little while longer. I said I'd be in touch with her soon, and we would get together. As I hung up the phone, I thought to myself, Dick, now you know why God didn't want you to go to Mexico. If you had gone, you would have gotten typhoid for sure, and for sure you would have died. Unfortunately, this bout with typhoid, amoebas, and high blood pressure did my friend Yalya in. It was the beginning of a long illness, which lasted over 8 years, and in which I watched the sad and gradual decline and eventual demise of my friend. She had been falsely diagnosed in the very beginning as not having Lyme disease, and then when her blood tests were sent to a lab in California, sometime later, the results came back that she did have it. They wanted to put a shunt into her chest and give her antibiotics, but she wouldn't do it. All of her systems shut down, one after the other. First she was dizzy, then she lost her balance, then she couldn't walk. Finally she was bound to her chair, and then she was no longer able to breathe. In the end she was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. 3 weeks before she died, her daughter said to her as she lay reclining in her chair and could barely move, Mom, what about if I let your friends go upstairs and pick out the clothes of yours they would like for themselves? Yalya very indignantly said to her daughter, No, they're my clothes and I'm not dying. 2 weeks before she died, I was sitting by her side and she was talking to me. Her voice was so faint I couldn't understand what she was saying, so I moved closer to her and was sitting on her night table, leaning over to hear when she said to me, Dick, you're crowding me. A week before she died, I was visiting her again and again was barely able to hear what she was saying. I said to her, Yalya, I read your book, Sex, Lies, Secrets, and Betrayals again, and I think it's great. Truth, lies, secrets, and betrayal, Dick, Yalya said to me, blurting out the word truth. I gave her a big hug and a kiss and left. As I walked out the door, I thought about something else she had said to me. When my grandfather, who was 93, was getting ready to die, I went up to his bedroom, saw him standing there, and said to him, Grandpa, don't you want to go to the synagogue? He looked at me and said, anything I have to say to God, I can say right here through my bedroom window. I'll also never forget Yalya's wonderful saying, sing songs, write poetry, and do the things that delight your heart. And don't focus on how or when it's going to get you, because it is going to get you, one way or another. When I told my younger son Alexander about my broken jaw and divine intervention, his answer to me was, what pearls the mind will string together in order to prove itself right. But then again, my younger son is of another generation.